but this time she caught me. All right, so I want to welcome everybody this evening. We are starting a new series. We are continuing from the last 4 weeks where we dealt with allergies, how to keep your gut healthy. And we are continuing with that theme, how to balance the inflammation in your body and to nurture your immune system for optimum health. Before we start, we normally go through a short exercise. There are two things I want to say to you. One is to take notes. The first thing, take notes. Get a paper and writing instrument, pen or pencil, and take notes because the shortest pencil is longer than the longest memory. The shortest pencil is longer than the longest memory. The second thing is to stay away from the 5 worst words in the world. And those 5 worst words in the world are, I have heard that before. That creates closed-mindedness instead of open-mindedness. And the question becomes, if you've heard it before, what are you doing about it? There are also 2 promises I'd like to make to you, 2 promises. You will learn something today that you can use right away. You will learn something today that you can use right away. Number 2, I am available to work with you further. Both my wife and I are available to work with you further. So 2 things, 2 promises. Let's go through our disclaimer. The information provided in this presentation is intended for general informational purposes only and should not be considered as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. As a naturopathic doctor, I am sharing insights and suggestions based on my expertise in natural health and wellness. However, it's important to consult with a medical doctor before making any significant changes to your regimen, especially if you have underlying medical conditions, are taking medications, or have specific health concerns. All right, so let me just quickly get around to welcoming all of our regular participants who are here. Without you, this wouldn't be this successful. Some are underway still. Thank you for being here. And for our first timers, I think Sister Toomer and her husband, this is their first time. Thank you for joining us. We greatly appreciate you being here. And I saw that her husband already has writing instrument to take notes. Take notes, right? Don't depend on your brain. All right. So we want to quickly recap. Unless anybody has something to say, or welcome, or good afternoon. Please all welcome the Sister Toomer and her husband. If you wouldn't do that for me quickly, everyone.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
All right. And if you all have any questions, you know what to do. Ask it if it's relevant. Yeah,
Okay.
if it's relevant to the presentation, you can ask a quick question, but we normally reserve questions to the end. So if you want to wait to the end, if you have a point to make, you can do so. All right, good. All right, so we want to quickly recap briefly what we have covered in the past weeks of our gut health presentation. So, in the previous presentation on gut health and immune system balance, we explored the intricate connection between gut health and overall well-being, And we discussed the importance of maintaining and our immune function, right? Maintaining a healthy gut. And we need the healthy gut microbiome for optimal digestion. And when we talk about the gut microbiome, we're talking about the prebiotics and the probiotics, right? So the probiotics are the healthy gut organisms we need in our stomachs, in our gut, sorry. And uh, the prebiotic is the food for the probiotics. We need to have a healthy balance or we will have problems. And who remembers what kind of problems we can have if we don't have a healthy, balanced microbiome? Anybody who's been here before?
Indigestion and bloating.
Okay, you see, our guest, I'm kind of embarrassed now. Some of y'all have been here. Our guest is answering quite correct. That's one. You get imbalance. You get bloating. What else? What else? And what I'm taking here is one of my packets from the Soul from Rain International. This is the core. The core. It's very good for the body. I take the Soul in the morning before I eat anything. And then I take the core either before breakfast or lunch. Didn't have either today, so I'm just taking the core as my last meal. Okay, anybody else? What happens if we don't have a healthy gut and have a healthy microbiome in the gut? What about the immune system, right? So the main thing that the immune system is the student of the microbiome. The microbiome teaches the immune system how to not overreact, right? And when the immune system overreacts, it creates allergies, it creates autoimmune diseases in our bodies, right? It overreacts, it secretes a lot of inflammation. And as we have said over the weeks, inflammation is the foundation of most diseases, all right? So we want to get rid of the inflammation. Okay, good. So for optimum digestion, for optimum nutrient absorption, we need to have a healthy gut microbiome, excuse me. And remember, we only get nutrients from what we intake if it's absorbed in the body. Otherwise, it just passes right out. All right. So we also examined how disruptions in your gut can contribute to allergic reactions and immune dysregulation. All right. So we want to have optimal digestion, nutrient absorption. Oh, I had that twice. I beg your pardon. And this is supposed to be the healthy immune system to fight off diseases. We also looked at the link between gut health and allergic reactions. As discussed in the previous presentation, we learned how imbalances in your gut microbiome can increase your susceptibility to allergies by compromising your immune system balance and promoting inflammation. All right, let me say it again, in case we forgot. If we have imbalances in a gut microbiome, this can increase your susceptibility to allergies by compromising your immune system balance and thus promoting inflammation. And understanding this connection is essential for addressing allergic reactions and fostering immune resilience. All right, so now we want to go directly into how we could balance the inflammation in our bodies. We're looking at a concept of inflammation and its impact on your immune system balance. All right. So today we're going to shift our focus to the concept of inflammation. It's a vital component of your body's immune system defense. However, it can also work against you, right? Because inflammation is a natural response to infection, injury, or stress, and it serves to protect your body from harmful pathogens and it initiates the healing process. So inflammation can work in our favor, right? Through the name histamine. So if you get an injury, you hit some part of your body somewhere, your body would secrete histamine to kind of engulf whatever it sees as the danger to get rid of it. The immune system would do that. However, if we have a bad gut, an imbalance in our gut between the prebiotics and the probiotics, our immune system could possibly overreact and cause us to have allergies, right? As we discussed previously. And as we just said, one of the things that could create the inflammation response is not just infection, not just injury, but also stress. So the more stress you have is the more inflammation you would tend to have, and you'll attract more disease. It's kind of a vicious cycle. All right. So let's kind of break down the meaning of the word inflammation. I love words. I love to find their meanings, right? Inflammation. So the word inflammation has its origin from the Latin word inflammo, right? Inflammo. And this means I set alight or I ignite, right? So inflammation means in the Latin, I set alight or I ignite. Now tell me, how true is this, right? Based on our lifestyle, based on what we eat, based on how much sleep we get, how much exercise we get, we can cause inflammation to be chronic in our body, right? And the term inflammation means I set a light, I ignite, right? We are the ones who do it, and that's a good thing in the sense that if we realize that we have done it, we could find a way to undo it. Yeah. All right, I'll say amen all by myself. All right, so inflammation serves as a crucial aspect of your body's natural defense and healing mechanisms. And some of the key indicators of inflammation in your body consists of you having pain, a lot of heat you're feeling, you have swelling, redness, or diminished function of that particular organ or body part, right? Again, some key indicators that you have inflammation in a particular joint or body part is you'll have pain, you'll have heat, you'll have swelling, you'll have redness, and you'll have diminished function, right? And as we see on the screen, inflammation is at the root of most diseases. Inflammation is also a leading cause of death. Inflammation, right? Chronic inflammation. Now, this is from the Harvard magazine of May to June of 2019. That's about 4 to 5 years ago, right? And the title was Raw and Red Hot. Raw and Red Hot. And if you look carefully, the woman seems to be burning up in flames, right? And this is because the artist is trying to depict that she has inflammation uh, all over her body. And you may have inflammation all over your body as well right now as I speak. And some of the ways that the inflammation can show itself is through your skin with either psoriasis or eczemas, through your bones, through your brain, causing Alzheimer's disease, for example. All right. So inflammation is a serious condition in our bodies. And this is why the last 2 months ago, I was promoting the pure and sorry, the soul and the core from Rain International. Those seed-based products are built to reverse and help to get rid of inflammation in your body, right? And one of my clients I spoke to today, she was having a wonderful testimony of what's happening in her body. Her daughter now wants to get in on the action to get the products. It really, really, really works. Praise God. Praise God. All right. So, like I said, inflammation means I ignite or I set a flame, right? And she is all aflame. And somebody right there may be having a redness or swelling or burning or pain, which might be a symptom of having inflammation. Now, when your body detects a threat, like we talked about before, like an infection, your immune system kicks into gear to protect you. That's why it's there. Now, it does this by causing inflammation, histamine, right? The same happens when we are not well hydrated. When we get dehydrated, we don't drink enough water throughout the day. Your body thinks that you are in starvation mode, that something is going wrong. It begins to release histamine, which is inflammation, all right? And so the body releases inflammation, and this is like or similar to opening up the blood vessels to send more blood to the areas that need help. But sometimes, even after the threat is gone, now here's the danger, right? So it's good that the body will secrete histamine or inflammation for whatever threat it perceives in the body. But the problem becomes that even after the threat is gone, your immune system keeps attacking, which can cause ongoing inflammation. And it keeps attacking because your microbiome, your pre and probiotics may not have a good balance. So there's nobody to teach the immune system, the security guard, when to stop. All right. So I hope that's making sense to somebody. So, for example, the impact on the immune system balance when you get a cut or an infection, your body's inflammation's response helps to fight off germs and heal the wound. But if the inflammation sticks around for a long time, it can cause some serious problems. And chronic inflammation, for example, can really interfere with how your immune system works and lead to health issues like autoimmune diseases, heart problems, and problems with how your body handles energy. So let's kind of give a definition of inflammation, right? We gave what the Latin meaning was I set a flame or I ignite, right? But we want to get a definition of inflammation and to find its role in the immune system. So to define inflammation, is how your body reacts, as we covered, when it reacts to an injury or is fighting off germs, right? So it's like a defense system that gets activated to keep you safe from things like infections or injuries. It involves your immune system working to fight off bad stuff like the germs or the damaged cells, right? But it has to stop. Otherwise, it will cause us serious injury. So inflammation is important, is very important for your body's defense system. It's very important. But having the inflammation uh, just keep flowing is similar to those of us who drive or who used to drive, and you go to the gas station to get gas. You put the pump, you open you get the door to the gas tank. You put your money in. You put the hose in the plug, the gas sprocket into the car, and you begin to fill the tank, right? And you're squeezing to let the gas come through. And you might get distracted, talking to somebody else, whatever it is, and you keep the pressure up and the gas tank is full. What happens? All of the excess gas begins to spill all over you, all over the car, over the ground, and that can cause a serious fire, right? That's similar to the inflammation. Just seeping through your body can cause serious burning, but serious damage to your organs, right? So uh, the inflammation helps by calling in immune cells, right? White blood cells, sending more blood to areas that need help and starting the process of fixing your damaged tissue. And so it's like your body's first line of defense, right? It's giving you, as it were, CPR, right? It's what is first line of defense against the germs and the injuries, helping you to get rid of the bad stuff and make things better again, right? That's the role. That's the role. Now we want to talk about acute versus chronic inflammation and the effects on your health. So the two main types of inflammation is acute inflammation and chronic inflammation. Anybody can tell me the difference between acute and chronic? Just the word? The words? Anybody? What does acute mean? Anyone?
Is acute like depending on the time that it occurs, like chronic to be a little bit long ongoing and then acute is a little bit temporary, or it also could mean the amount or how serious it is.
Okay, well, you are spot on, Sister White, and we'll go more
And
into it. Yes, Dr. Rayborn.
when they said something is acute as well, it's something that happened like suddenly and it may last about like maybe 2 to 3 days. But if you have something that lasts more than a week, that is like, then it becomes chronic. It's greater than a week or so.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? Thank you. Thank you. Guys are spot on. You can take one more. All right. So acute inflammation is a short-term response to injury or infection. The short term. Boom, it happens, right? Doesn't last long, like Dr. Rayborn said. It is characterized by a rapid onset, happens right away, and resolution once the threat is eliminated. So in other words, we want our inflammation to be acute. Something happens, it launches an attack to defend us, and then once the threat is neutralized, it stops. Acute inflammation, right? Anybody confused still? Let me know. I'll put it another way, but I want you to understand. So that's acute. In contrast, chronic inflammation is a persistent, low-grade inflammatory state, and it can develop over time and contribute to various health problems, right? So if you look carefully at the screen, this person has an acute inflammatory response to some injury or insect bite they got in their feet. On the right of the screen, this gentleman has chronic inflammation. He's burning up all over, right? It's low grade and it can develop over time and contribute to different health problems. He could very easily develop rheumatoid arthritis in his joints from the inflammation, right? So here are some diseases that are associated with chronic inflammation: arthritis, heart disease, asthma, allergies, Crohn's disease, diabetes, cancer, neurological and autoimmune disease, etc. Right? So look here again. You see, eye disorders, asthma, diabetes, colitis and Crohn's disease, infection, injury, cardiovascular disease, breast cancer, lung cancer, arthritis and joint pain, obesity, psoriasis, and the list goes on and on and on. So while acute inflammation is a normal and necessary part of the healing process, chronic inflammation can have detrimental effects on your health. Prolonged inflammation has been linked to the development of numerous chronic diseases, including cardiovascular disease, diabetes, arthritis, and certain cancers, as I mentioned before. And if you look on the screen here, the picture here, it gives 8 ways chronic inflammation can damage your body, right? Number 1, it can cause memory loss and cognitive decline, right? Alzheimer's, for example. It can cause increased cardiovascular risk. It can cause abnormal growth of healthy cells. Number 4, it can cause compromised digestive function. Number 5, a loss of muscle tone. Number 6, weight gain. Number 7, accelerated skin aging. And number 8, joint pain and loss of mobility, right? 8 ways chronic inflammation can damage your body. We want to look at chronic inflammation and disease, right? We want to understand chronic inflammation. So chronic inflammation, like we said, is like a quiet troublemaker in your body, right? It's a quiet troublemaker in your body. And while acute inflammation is your body's way of fighting off immediate threats like infections or injuries, chronic inflammation is like a smoldering fire that burns for a long time, often unnoticed, right? So some years ago, we probably about 8 years ago, I had a bale of hay in my garage right next to my car, to one of my cars. And I had an injury to my leg. I believe I had a lot of inflammation going on. And I went outside and I think I saw a wasp nest and I was trying to burn it, right? I had some paper tied to a stick and the fire on the stick to burn it. I was successful in burning it. It was outside my garage. I went back inside the house. I began to smell smoke. I was trying to figure out where is this fire coming from. There's nothing on the stove. I hobbled down the stairs into the garage, and there was a 6 to 8 foot tall flame of fire coming from this bale of hay right next to the gas tank of my car. And but for the grace of God, the car didn't explode, and God helped me to hobble quickly my one leg, my one good leg, and put the fire out. It scorched the wall. The wall is still burnt to this day. You still see the effect of it, right? And so this is like chronic inflammation. I didn't realize that a piece of the paper, a small piece of the paper, fell on the bale of hay. It didn't go into a blaze right away, but as the paper nestled in the hay, it was summertime, it began to smolder and began to burn, right? And that's what chronic inflammation does in our body. It is smoldering, it's there, we don't know it's there, and it gets worse and worse and worse. And then before we know it, we have a lot of diseases or pains and suffering in our body, right? And we said before, most chronic diseases are linked to inflammation. This is why I recommend to all of my clients to get the RAIN and the core, especially from the soul and the core from RAIN International, right? All of my clients are using that with great success, thank God. So there's also a link to health conditions from inflammation. And this kind of long-term inflammation, chronic inflammation, is linked to health issues, right? That's why it is a real concern. It's like having a low-grade fever that doesn't go away. So a low-grade fever is equal to having a temperature between 98.7 Fahrenheit and between 100.4, right? Or in Celsius, 37.05 and 38. And it lasts for more than 24 hours. That's a low-grade fever. Over time, chronic inflammation can damage your tissues and contribute to serious diseases as the following three, right? As the following three. Number 1, cardiovascular disease. Chronic inflammation can interfere with the health of your blood vessels, increasing your risk of heart disease, heart attacks, and strokes. Number 2, diabetes. It's like chronic inflammation is adding fuel to the fire when it comes to diabetes. It can interfere with your body's ability to use insulin properly and control your blood sugar levels. And number 3, autoimmune disorders. Sometimes our or your immune system gets confused and starts attacking your own healthy tissues. That's an autoimmune disease. And before I go to the five, let me also say chronic inflammation seems to play a big role, a huge role, a gigantic role in triggering and worsening your autoimmune condition like rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, and multiple sclerosis, right? So here are five common autoimmune diseases: lupus, Sjögren's syndrome, rheumatoid arthritis, psoriasis, and psoriatic arthritis. So, what is the role of lifestyle factors when dealing with inflammation? We are not helpless against chronic inflammation, right? As we said at the onset, we are not helpless against it. There are things that we could do. Lifestyle factors like what we eat, how active we are, how we manage stress can either calm down that smoldering fire or fan the flame, right? And I always tell my clients, dairy products and meat produce inflammation. There is now scientific research that shows a direct link between dairy products and cancer and the proliferation of inflammation in our bodies, especially in the red meats and in terms of eating meat and dairy products. And the worst dairy product to consume is cheese for a whole number of reasons. I'll give you a few. So the same spot, same area in the brain that is ignited, set aflame when somebody takes rock cocaine. Now there's a difference between rock cocaine and the powder cocaine. The rich folks use the powder cocaine. The not so rich folks use the crack cocaine. The crack cocaine is the sediments, is the remnant from the powder cocaine, right? But it seems to give a bigger high, a quicker high. But it's very dangerous, the crack cocaine, more dangerous than the powder cocaine. So if dairy products in general, if dairy in general, dairy milk is the powder cocaine, then cheese is the rock cocaine. All right. And another thing that it does when we consume cheese, it affects your frontal lobe. It triggers the fight or flight response in your bodies, and you go through the same physiological responses like when you face a threat that will cause you to either want to fight or take flight, right? So your blood vessels constrict, your pupils dilate, it gets wider to allow more light in. The blood rushes from your major organs to your extremities to give you strength to fight or to run when we eat cheese, right? And I think some of you have already gotten the recipe to make your own natural cheese. If you want that recipe, don't have it, text me, send me a text in the chat. My wife should be able to get it to you today, or text me your number and I'll send it to you. All right. But it's very important to understand that when we eat certain foods, we add inflammation to our bodies, and which could lead to chronic inflammation. All right. So I want you to visualize the connection. Try to imagine for a moment, right? Imagine chronic inflammation as this underlying problem. The same way you have roots of a tree causing damage underground. And the diseases it's linked to, they are like branches of that tree. So that's the visible part we can see and feel. So a tree grows in two directions, right? It first of all, from a seed or a young plant, the tree grows down. Its roots go down. So the roots are like the invisible branches. And if you look at a tree carefully, you uproot a tree, the roots could almost mimic the branches on top. So the roots go down and the tree gets strengthened, or the roots can cause damage bursts a pipe on the ground, do a lot of different things, and the roots go up. So the inflammation is like the root is underlying. You can't really see it, but the roots would show the disease. So the Bible says, by their fruit you shall know them, right? So some people say, God knows my heart. No, God wants us to be able to see your fruit. And fruits go where? On the roots of the branches, on the branches. Yeah. So we can think of this information like a tree is going down further and growing up. And whatever the roots absorb, it would be reflected in the fruit that is born from the branches, right? I hope that makes sense. So chronic inflammation could be this underlying problem like roots of a tree causing damage underground. And the diseases is linked to, they are like the branches of the tree, the visible part that we could see and feel. But to really tackle those diseases, we need to address the inflammation at its source. At its source. All right. So I want you to take note of this. Take note, take note, take note. By understanding how chronic inflammation is connected to various health conditions and how our lifestyle choices can either fuel it or calm it down, we can take steps to nurture our bodies and promote optimal health, right? And like I said, if you're interested in the products from Ray International, contact me. I'll ask my wife to put her website in the chat, and you can go there and look at the products. If you click on the products, it tells you exactly what's in it, what it's made for specifically on the website. All right. So Nadez, if you're available, please put your website for me in the chat so the folks can see it. All right. So that's the end of our presentation today.
Okay.
Thank you for your patience. You can go ahead, Nadez.
Okay, for the web.
All right. Thank you. All right. So
Pastor,
yes,
I
ma'am. Go
think
right ahead.
people need to stop eating dairy for those who still eat it. They have the name of my sister Paul, remember the name of the virus now that is, it attack animal, chicken and
Bird flu.
cows. Bird flu now.
Bird flu. Yes, in
It's
Texas.
attacking human being.
Yes.
And they think it might be the next big pandemic. They're striving for that.
Mm-hmm.
So for those who eat meat, it would behoove us to stop eating those products.
That's a great point, Mr. Brown. Thank you. And I didn't mention it because this is the first part of this series. So next week we'll continue with this and get deeper. But it's a point that we need to take care of. And so I listened to the news very carefully, and they said it's the first known or first reported outbreak. So there can be others that haven't been reported. There can be others that people have died, and they give it a different name, what it died from. Right. And so I think right now the largest company in United States that sells eggs have just destroyed, I think, hundreds of thousands of chickens. Right. I had to recall eggs. Now think about this, right? Here the scary part, Mr. Brown. Here the scary part. Some of these eggs have already been used in somebody's cake.
Exactly.
Some of these eggs are already in pastry and other stuff on the shelf in the bakery, in the supermarket, right?
Yes.
Because they're putting dairy in everything, eggs and cheese, because it's addictive in almost every product now. And so you could be going to the store and buying your veggie meat or whatever it is that has eggs in it and could be possibly be a victim to this bird flu. So now they're saying that the bird flu, first some years ago they said it's gone, right? Now it's on the rise again. And now it has jumped from the birds to the cows. So there's somebody in Texas that had red eyes, was feeling sick. They went to the doctor and they said, hey, that's bird flu, right? And you'd have to ask the question, how far apart is bird flu from mad cow disease? Right? How far apart is it? How far apart? All right.
But Pastor, this person did not eat it. He was working with
That's
them.
correct. That's correct. So how much worse is it if you eat it, right?
I was
Uh,
listening to the news this morning that they said it's 5 states that know. They didn't say if it's the bad one, but they said 5 states now have the bird flu.
yeah. So, like we said in the presentation, right? What's the meaning of inflammation? In Latin, I ignite, I set ablaze, right?
Mhm.
So once we realize, so it's not a blame game, it's being intentional. Lord, I put this into my body. I didn't know better, or whatever it is. Please forgive me, and start fresh and move forward. That's the idea. That's the idea. All right. Any questions, comments? Anybody else?
And before we move on,
Yes, go ahead.
as I was listening to one podcast last night, they were saying that even if you have your own chicken, or people, you can get chicken from your next door neighbor. What about the feed that they are getting? So anywhere you take it, you have to be careful what you do.
Well, let me first stop the recording, then I'll respond.